Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. In this one, I've got a little guide that should help you put together a solid kit for a brand new low-level character after a fresh wipe, or if you're just starting the game at level 1. I just finished a fresh playthrough on a standard account before making this video, and I basically used this kit exclusively from level 1 to about level 15 when you can unlock some level 2 traders and start making upgrades to this basic loadout. For this loadout, I'm using items that can be easily purchased from level 1 traders, and mostly avoiding items that need to be bartered or found in raid. So this kit is easy to duplicate and the prices are stable because you aren't messing around with the flea market. I'll be going over my choice of weapon, a simple Vepr 136 build that can also be used with basically any other AK rifle that you find on scavs or from other players, and I'll be talking about your early game armor, equipment, and healing items as well. In my opinion, this is pretty much the best all-around loadout that you can put together right from level 1, and this is what you'll see me running like 90% of the time while I'm doing low-level quests and farming scavs for experience and equipment. It's not the cheapest loadout that you can run at level 1, but it's probably the strongest loadout you can build right from the beginning, and there's a few ways that you can cut down the overall price. So with this intro out of the way, let's get started with the most important part of the loadout and go over a simple but effective build for the Vepr 136 semi-auto AK. To start this loadout off, let's begin with the main attraction and set up a solid rifle build that'll improve the base stats and accuracy a bit so that it's easier to nail your shots and stay on target. My pick for an early wipe setup is always going to be some kind of AK, preferably the 7.62x39 variety like the Vepr AKM or AK103, because you have access to some pretty solid attachments and very useful ammo right from level 1. You can buy a Vepr 136 rifle from Skier level 1 for about 30,000 rubles. Scavs drop them, and they drop AKMs very frequently, and you can also trade your starting Tushonka beef stew for AKMs at proper level 1, so it's not hard to get some of these rifles even in the early game. For your ammo choice, 7.62 PS rounds are sold by proper level 1 for a pretty decent price in unlimited quantities, and this is basically the ultimate early game ammo because of the low price, high damage, and decent armor penetration. This build will also work on 5.45 AKs as well, but you're going to need to farm BT ammo during raids or unlock some other ammo types through early game quests before the AK-74 really becomes that useful. To start this build off, grab a Vepr from Skier and then strip off the dust cover, rear iron sight, gas tube, handguard, and muzzle device, which we'll be replacing with cheap upgrades. Starting from the muzzle, you want to get the TT AKM adapter from Skier level 1, which lets you add more modern muzzle devices onto older AK rifles. Then if you head over to proper level 1, you can find the AK103 muzzle brake for only about 600 rubles, and this slots right onto the adapter and gives you much better recoil stats compared to the default muzzle brake. Next, the Ultimac railed gas tube from Skier level 1 is still a great budget choice for a small recoil reduction, so for purely budget reasons, I like to use this instead of buying the AK100 handguard and then a foregrip. It's less than half the price with the same stats, so it's a better choice in my opinion. After this, replace the dust cover with the Bastion dust cover at Skier level 1, which allows you to add a sight and reduces the recoil. The best low-cost optic that you can get at this level will be the Cobra reflex sight from proper level 1, and the shade attachment, which helps you increase your ergonomics slightly. To finish this off, you can remove the pistol grip and swap it for the polymer version for one more point of ergonomics, but really this is all you'll need to make some pretty solid improvements to a stock AK build. You have better recoil stats, improved ergonomics, and a sight which is much more accurate than iron sights, and the whole build only totals up to around 50,000 rubles when it's all put together. Grab some 30 rounders from proper, fill them up with PS rounds, and you've got yourself a build that will make easy work of scavs and be able to punch through basically any of the early game armor that people have available to them. For the next section of this video, I'll quickly go over your choices for early game armor and equipment, and what I like to take out as my preferred setup when I'm below level 10. Ragman level 1 has actually gotten some pretty decent upgrades to his stock during the past few months, so it's actually possible to put together a good loadout from him at level 1, instead of being stuck exclusively with the P.A.K.A. and a sling backpack, even though those are pretty legit options as well. First up, the best new addition at Ragman level 1 in my opinion is the 6B5 armored rig, which was previously at level 2. This is a pretty basic armor setup, combining a class 3 armored vest with fairly high durability at 80 points, with 4 magazine pouches and 2 pockets for grenades or meds. This rig costs about 50,000 rubles, and you can only buy one per trader reset, which means if you lose it, you're out of luck until the traders refresh. but it's a really good buy for the price, and it'll protect you from most scavs and a lot of the early game ammo that other players will be using. The high durability and the titanium construction means it repairs pretty well, so if you can survive raids, this armor will last you quite a while. If you can't buy any more of this rig, or if you just want to save some money, going in unarmored or with the cheaper Pack-A-Vest is totally viable, but you'll be a lot more vulnerable to things like shotguns and pistols from scavs. For headwear at this level, I recommend you choose between either the SSH steel helmet from Ragman or my preference, the M32 headphones from Skier. Personally, I don't like spending the money on the SSH helmet because of the low coverage area and the high movement penalties, but I do understand that a lot of people swear by this little rat helmet, and it can save you from shotguns and pistols pretty effectively. I prefer to take the headphones, which have a really good sound profile to help you hear movement from farther away, and they have a pretty decent price tag of below 20,000 rubles. Finally, for a backpack, you can make the choice between an MBSS backpack for cheaper or the larger Berkut backpack for more loot, both of which can now be purchased from Ragman level 1. You can also craft scab backpacks in the laboratory using fabrics, which is quite helpful early on. The last part of this loadout that I want to go over is the medical supplies, which is kind of the most annoying part of the early game kits in my opinion, because you don't have access to multi-purpose first aid kits, so you have to mess around with a bunch of single slot items. The core components of your meds can all be purchased from therapists, and you'll want at least one of each of the following: an AI2 medkit, aseptic bandage, Esmarch tourniquet, Analgin painkillers, and a splint. I would suggest that you leave the painkillers and the medkit in your secure container when you're starting out, and remove them only to replace them with better items that you find, since they are the most expensive meds and you'll need them every raid. Also, when you complete therapist gas analyzer quests, you can buy car medkits for a way better price than the bandages and AI2s, so you only need to run these meds until you complete that quest and unlock the car medkit. Another alternative to the Esmarch is the CAT tourniquet from Peacekeeper, which has a faster use time to heal those heavy bleeds, but it's also about double the price. If you bought this entire loadout from the traders piece by piece, it would run you about 150,000 rubles total, which is not that much after you farmed up some money, but it is quite a bit in the early wipe. Ideally though, you'll be mixing and matching equipment that you find in raid with things that you bought from the traders to reduce the price pretty drastically. Even things like just finding a backpack or an armor or a Vepr AK off a scav can really reduce the overall price of your loadouts in the early game. This loadout is also easily upgradable as you level up, and once you hit level 2 traders, you can upgrade the Vepr AK quite a bit, and it never really stops being useful. That pretty much covers it for this loadout though, so I hope you found this video at least somewhat useful, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it down in the comments. I'll also be covering some other options for budget weapon builds that you can use at low levels on the channel, so stay tuned for that really soon. Thanks for checking out the video. I've got links to my Twitch stream, Discord server, and Patreon page down below for anyone interested, and until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.